Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook. We got my guy back in the house. He's been making an appearance all week long. He was gone for a little bit. Now he's back because it's NFL season. More importantly, Minnesota Vikings season. The sports guru of Minneapolis, Mr. Patrick Buchanan. How are you, Pat?
I'm doing good, man. I got this opportunity to do it again. I feel like we just did this yesterday, but
I feel like we just did it yesterday.
I'm back. You know, I had to come back for this one, right? Having, another guest on the show. So I had to be back for this one. I couldn't miss out on this one right here.
Yeah, but this is not just another guest, Pat. This is not, we've had guests on the show before, but this is not just another guest. Let me run down for all of UP Nation out there who this guest is. This guest played at the University of Miami, the U, standout defensive back, drafted in the NFL in 1978, second round, 48th pick overall to our Minnesota Vikings, played for the Minnesota Vikings from 1978 to 1983, took a little bit of a detour to the San Diego Chargers, then came back 1985 to 1987, 9 seasons total, played in the NFL, 116 games played, 76 starts, 24, I done my homework, 24 interceptions. All right, 24 interceptions, 1 career sack, 5 fumble recoveries, gracing the airwaves of Unconventional Playbook is my guy, Minnesota Vikings great cornerback, Mr. John Turner. We call him JT. John Turner. How are you doing, JT?
Guys, I'm doing great. I have never, ever had an intro like that. Let me tell you something. That was special. I enjoyed it. I almost didn't know who you were talking about. It was that good. It was just that good. So thank you so much.
Hey, man, thank you for gracing, our airwaves, Unconventional Playbook. We're about a year old, and I can tell you this is going to be one of my favorite interviews because you and I go way back.
Yeah.
And UP Nation, we have some very passionate Minnesota Vikings fans. Skull Nation is out there, Purple Nation, and the Purple Gang is out there also that comes in and watches our show. So this is going to be a great treat for them. So thanks again for coming in and giving us a little bit of time, JT.
Absolutely. I would not have missed it for the world. So thank you again for inviting me. And don't make this be the first or the last time that I get to come on the show.
All right, man.
I just want to make that known right here today.
Well, y'all heard that, UP Nation. So yeah, there it is. He said it.
He said it. You heard it. It's documented, Pat. It's documented. JT, listen, man. The first thing is you had a stellar career in the NFL. There's a lot of kids out there now that has dreams of playing in the league. I talk to them all the time. I go to a lot of clinics and stuff, and I do a lot of coaching events, and I have a chance to talk to a lot of young people out there, man, and all of them have those dreams of playing professionally. Take me back, man. 1978. What was it like for you getting drafted by the Minnesota Vikings?
Man, and it's funny you say that because I'm going to go back even a little further, man. I had that dream, as those young people that you're talking with today. I had that same dream. Matter of fact, I had that dream way back at 8 years old, watching TV. You watching football, you watching basketball, you watching whatever sport it may be at that time. And I tell you, a turning point for me, and I'm going to tell you this little story. It was really funny. A turning point for me was because I was torn between basketball, football, wanting to go to the Olympics. It's all sorts of things that we dream about as young athletes, the way to get ourselves moving and being and doing something positive. I'm going to say it that way. Because it's easy for us to get sidetracked and move into a different direction. So we always kept busy in sports. At least that was my carrot. But I tell you what, man, I remember one time watching a football game on TV. Matter of fact, it was the Detroit Lions playing the Chicago Bears. And I can't remember quite if it was Thanksgiving, but they always played. And I tell you what, and there was this young man that popped on the screen, and it was Lim Barney.
Yeah.
Everybody remember that name, a great
Yep.
defense back from way back in the day. And I tell you what, normally when they isolate somebody, they show a great play. It's a receiver, it's a running back, it's somebody doing something special on offense. He was the first defensive player that I ever saw that isolated and showed him backing up in slow motion and,
Yeah.
just looking as graceful as he was. And man, right there at that point, I pointed at TV, pointed to my mom. That's me. I'm going to be just like him.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that was one of the moments in my time in my life that I made a decision at a very young age that I was going to be that dude. And from that point on, the dream was real. And I tell, and like you talk to young people, I tell them all the time, dream on, dream big. There's no dream in the world that can't ever come true. So dream big because you never know which one is actually going to be the one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And JT, it's one thing to get your dream recognized, to get drafted, but
Right.
it's another thing to, fly to Minnesota,
Yeah,
meet
yeah,
your
yeah.
meet your new teammates, meet your new coaches, different than what you had in college.
Yeah.
Man, walk me through what it was like to go into your first training camp because you had one of the best coaches of all times in Minnesota Vikings history in Bud Grant.
Oh
I mean,
man,
what
but
was that like?
let me tell you something. But I'm gonna answer your first question first. I'm gonna lead you into that. I didn't forget the first question. I'm gonna take you back. Man, let me tell you, on draft day, and back then we were in Houston, Texas at that time. Man, we were sitting there, we were getting drafted, and a small story people don't know sometimes the backstory, the part of it that's really, really interesting. I'm gonna put it that way. Because see, you get told a lot of things when you're getting ready to be drafted. You have a lot of agents that are in your face and trying to get you to let them represent you. Man, I'll tell you what. So so you're working out all the time. You're going to camps. You're working out. You're running for people. Not the way it is now, where they have everybody in one big spot. You know, coaches came down to talk to you individually and you'll fly out to different teams to work out for them. Man, I tell you, my best workout was with the Oakland Raiders.
Okay.
And here's what happened with the Oakland Raiders. Well, I'm gonna back you up. The Miami Dolphins came up first. The Miami Dolphins came and worked me out. I mean, Coach Pat, they worked me like a dog. They worked me by myself. They didn't want anybody else because they didn't have a first round pick, and I was their choice in the second round. And I don't think they had a third or fourth either. So I was the guy. Man, they worked me so hard. I remember the coach throwing the ball, and when the special, when you have the defensive back coach come and the defensive
That's
coordinator.
right. Yeah, when
It's
people start
special.
showing up, yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, I'm really going there, because everybody's there. Coach, let me tell you something. Man, that man worked me out so bad, so hard. And then at the last, he threw a ball. He threw it so high, and he said, oops. Like, I went, no, oops, I'm going to go get this. Man, I caught this ball, came back down. The defensive coordinator told me, now do you believe he can catch? So that's the only thing that ended that one. But
Okay.
my best workout was with the Oakland Raiders. Man, they came to visit me. Man, the Oakland Raiders sat me down. The dude came over to my apartment. We went in the backyard of my apartment and caught the ball. And like us three talking right now, we just talked and threw the football back and forth. That was my workout.
Wow, man.
That's how the Raiders worked me out. It was the most unique and most special moment. And then he told me, he said, well, Johnny, if you there, we gonna draft you. I said, Lord, I sure hope I'm there, because if this will work out, I can do this every day. And then to lead into the story, the Minnesota Vikings, the only time I ever saw the Minnesota Vikings, I was a sophomore in college. Boy, talking about Bud Grant came to the University of Miami. Bud Grant was watching film. The defensive back coach ran down to get me and said, Bud want to talk with you. I'm like, dude, I'm a sophomore. What the hell Bud want to talk with me for? I got 2 more years. Man, Bud came. I met Bud. We talked. It was like talking to my dad. Man, we were just sitting in there talking, laughing. At the end of this conversation, he said, "Oh, you're a pretty good little defensive back. Keep it up." And the next thing I know, I'm a Minnesota Viking.
Wow, man.
And that's my workout with the Minnesota Vikings.
Now think about this. Think about this, JT. You know, if that had never happened that way, I mean, you've and I'm not talking about your football career.
Yeah,
You've etched out a really good life. You are actually a down south guy that's
yeah.
up here in the cold in Minnesota, and you decided to stay.
Let me tell you something. Soda, and I say this to a lot of people, never, now let me back it a little further. When I first knew I was coming to Minnesota on draft day, that was a beautiful thing. In Houston, Texas, all that you see on TV, you go on the stage, you walk out, it's a beautiful thing. It is a pleasure and a blessing to be there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I tell you what, to lead you into saying that you got drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, coming from Miami, man, I was like, they called the wrong John Turner. I know they ain't talking about me. All I ever saw about the Minnesota Vikings were because they were always good, you know. And I always saw them during the wintertime. And you always saw those pictures. It's
Oh
cold
yeah.
and they got smoke coming out their mouths. You know, I'm like, man, that is not real. You know, everybody that just listen. All that's real. All that's real. And when I first got here, the only thing I knew about them was the Minnesota Vikings and Jesse James robbed his last train in Northfield, Minnesota. That's what I knew. That's what I knew about
Yep.
Minnesota. But I
Yeah.
tell you what, to your leading to your question, man, I got here, man, I tell you, Minnesota is one of the best kept secrets.
I
People were
agree.
so nice. I mean, people were just open heart. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it because what makes it all worthwhile is the people that you are around.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
the people that you're associating with, the people that you get to meet along the way. Because
Yeah,
if
that's what's
it
up.
wasn't for that, then you know the city itself is great, but it still takes that to make it special. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's what it was for me. And man, I've met so many great people here. I've connected with so many great organizations, and I tell you what, it's just been a beautiful place for me.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Pat, you got anything for JT, man?
Yeah, I got something for you, JT. First, I want to let everybody know how I was a young puppy at Park Center High School. And JT, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure it was my sophomore year in 95, 96 when you started working there.
You
If I'm
dating
mistaken.
yourself now, Patrick. You dating yourself now, man.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm telling my age. So I just got to tell this story. It's the funniest thing. I saw him in our commons cafeteria area, and I walked up to him. Right, oh, JT Turner played for the Vikings, right? And this is exactly how we met each other. I said, "You ever tackled a man?" And JT, y'all don't know him, but he works with his hands a lot, right? When he's talking, he was like, "Come on, come on, come on, come on, let me show you something." So all I said was, "Have you ever tackled the man?" The man walked me to his office, opened his bottom drawer in his office, and pulled out a poster of that man tackling Walter Payton. I said, "Look at you, look at you." I remember that's being our first encounter. All I said is, "You ever tackled a man?" He knew who the man was.
But
So you know, JT, we in this time like this is where you're a football fan, you love football, like you're a Vikings fan. It is training camp time. What, like, as a person who's went through, 9 of those things, right?
yeah,
What is
yeah.
like, what comes up when training camp? Like, what when you reminisce about training camp? What are the bright spots or the spots where you like, man, I don't dread those no more. What are those highlights about
Man,
training camp that you
let me
might
tell
want to share
you
with
training camp.
people?
You know, I'm glad you asked that question. Let me tell you about training camp. Training camp for me was special. And here's why it was special. See, people don't realize Bud was a veteran players coach. No rookie. Only rookie that ever started for Bud Grant was Sammy White. Everybody else, you're going to be on that bench, right? Now, I got a few stories to tell you about that too that I've never told you. But anyway, with that being said, man, training camp, we were the last team to go in. Everybody like they there now, man. We went in July. We might have got there July 31st. Everybody else had been there 2 weeks. We went to training camp 10 days before our first preseason game. It was standard. The expectation was that you were already going to be in shape, you're going to be ready to go, and we were going to hit the ground running. And we didn't do all those physical tests. We didn't do all that 6 mile run, whatever they did. We got right into business, right into football. And that was a special thing, at least for me, because for me, it was always about being ready, being prepared. Matter of fact, I felt like I got out of shape when I got to Minnesota because being in Miami working out, I worked out hard. By the time I got here, man, it was like it was just easy because we just did football stuff. He didn't beat you into the ground because he was thinking about Bud was so unique, man. He was so ahead of the time. He wasn't thinking about September. He was already playing chess. He was in December. Because he was thinking about November when it gets tough in Minnesota. It's cold outside. And, guys are worn down. You midway through the season. He wants you to still have something in the tank. So he kind of thought like that. So, but for training camp, the special part of training camp for me was the camaraderie. It was the guys. It was the team. Not only did Bud bring good players, man, he brought in good people. We had some dudes, but they were all good people. In my day when I got there in 78, if you saw in 78, 79, 80, if you saw one of us somewhere, you saw 50 of us somewhere. We went to dinner together. We went out together. We went to shop. We did everything together. It was just a special time for me. I just like that camaraderie so much so that we're still close knitted like that. We're still close together like that. So the most things for me, it wasn't the fact that we were playing football, it was the fact that we were doing it together. So the standout thing for me was my guys. If I can tell anybody about sports, it's about your teammates. It's about the camaraderie. That's what I miss. I miss being around the guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we got a really good coach here now in KOC who's doing some really, really good things the short time that he has been here. One of my favorite coaches of all time for the Minnesota Vikings was Dennis Green. That's when I really became a Minnesota Vikings fan. Everybody knows about the greatness of Bud Grant.
Oh
JT,
man,
if
yeah.
if you can encapsulate what it was like to be coached by, a great and Bud Grant, how would you give someone like a visual of what it was like to be coached by a great coach like Bud
Man,
Grant?
Bud was so good. But here's the neat thing about Bud, and people don't realize, because when you see Bud, you see that stoic figure. That stone of a man, that mountain of a man. He's looking over the team, and there's no reaction on his face. It's just stoic. And that is so far from the truth. You know,
Yeah.
you know. But the neatest thing I can tell you about Bud always wanted your best. He wanted perfection, and it was always the little things that meant so much. And one of the little things for him was special teams. And people don't know he ran special teams. He picked who was on special teams. He ran special teams. I never forgot. He told us on the kickoff. He say we got ready to play somebody. He say if you offsides on the kickoff, you just keep running right on through that tunnel and go on home, get home the best way you can. And that's how he was. But it was a little thing. You shouldn't be offsides on special teams, no matter what it is. But man, I tell you what, the neatest thing about him was how he could make you, as serious of a moment as it is under the pressure that you may be under or may be feeling, because everybody's a little bit different. He made a light moment out of everything. We be out there getting ready for a game, and we're concentrating. We got, I don't know, it can be anybody. It can be the Bears coming up or Green Bay. Man, Butter come up down the hill. We'll be in practice, and he'll look over the scenic, and he'll look over, and everybody like, "What you staring at, Coach?" And we actually talking to us. We're just
Right.
offense on the fields, and we're talking. And I'm like, Coach, what you looking at? And he said, "Oh, don't you see this bird? I don't know all these bird names. He's an outdoorsman. I'm just gonna make up a name. Red something, blah blah blah." So and I don't know the name of the bird. So I'm looking, and now we're all competitive because he see it, but no, all these young eyes, we can't see it. I'm like, I don't see it. So we're looking. In the meantime, while we're all bending down, squatting down, looking up there trying to see, he go down to the offense where the offense are on the field, and he points up to us, man, what they doing? So the offense is down there on the field laughing at us, looking at a stupid bird that there's not even a bird. But he makes a light moment, a serious moment, light where you can focus and concentrate and just relax and be you and play football. And that's what one of the best things he was so good at was making it where it wasn't a pressure cooker. He made it where it was just a normal game where you can go out there and do it your best. And he was a master at that.
Man, I bet he was.
Yeah,
I
he was
bet he
so
was.
good. It was amazing.
Yeah. Pat, anything else you got, man? Pat, anything else you got?
You know, culture. Yeah. JT, in that time and era, the culture that Bud Grant, and the organization had built, right? And
Right.
I think that's one of the biggest things that's talked about now about the Minnesota Vikings, the Wills, Kwesi, KOC is culture, right? How do
Right.
you look at this culture as that they're building right now? Is that the culture? Is that the big thing that they're doing for the DNA to actually get this thing finally done in Minnesota of winning the Super Bowl?
But and it's funny you asked that question, which is a great question, number one. And number two, the answer is yes. I think they are doing, I think he's a throwback from Bud. He's awesome. The coach is just an awesome dude. We do a lot of alumni stuff. We have alumni. We got another alumni games, and we got all kind of stuff we do as an alumni. And with that being said, he's always there. He's always speaking to us. He's always thanking us for the foundation that he's been blessed to be a part of and take control of. I'm gonna say it that way. But I tell you what, man, his culture in that building he is confident. He has a lot of confidence in what he does. And he believes in his system. He believes in him. He believes in his coaching staff. And he believes in the players that he's put together on that football field. And you can see it, and I know the players gotta feel it. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to have you out there and have someone not necessarily feel as comfortable or confident in you than having a coach that's comfortable and confident in you. You know what I mean? Because you'll run through a wall for a guy like that. You'll
Yep.
play hard for people like that. And I think that's what he's building. He's building that old school type of football team where the guys believe in each other, where the guys hang out with each other. I think the guys over there like each other. You know,
Yeah.
I think they like each other. I think,
Yeah.
in this era of football, it's all about a dollar. Don't get me wrong. They should be. They should be making money. They should be taking care of their families. So I'm not ever going to say that. But I tell you what, the way the game has changed so much, sometimes you see where everybody make a tackle and everybody got to have a dance. Everybody, everybody got to do something. I got to do something 'cause I got to bring that light on me. Because
Yeah.
if I don't bring that light on me, I may not get mine. You know what I mean? And in the old days, it was all about team. If the team came first, you didn't see as many tackle dance. You'll see an end zone dance if you score a touchdown, but you didn't see a fumble recovery dance or a tackle dance or a sack dance. But they got all that kind of stuff now, and which I enjoy. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's funny to me. But I tell you what, I think he's brought a page back from the old days. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
those guys actually like each other. I think he's built that kind of team and brought those kind of players in where even though they play hard and they get theirs, but it's still about the team. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things he's incorporated in this new era of football. It in some teams you swear to God they don't like each other. But I tell you what, these guys, man, and hat goes off to them because they seem to really, really enjoy each other.
Yeah. You are listening to Unconventional Playbook. We've got our guy in here, special guest, Mr. John Turner, Minnesota Viking great, who has blessed us with his presence today. JT, again, thanks for coming on. JT, I've always wanted to ask you this question because when you look at the time that you played, man, I look at all of those great teammates that you had. You had some really, really tough, good teammates. Can you think of a teammate that was underrated, that really didn't get the notoriety that maybe he deserved? If you could think of a teammate just offhand that was, that I would categorize as being underrated.
Well, first of all, before I, and I think when I call this name, he's an all-time great. When I say this guy's name, he's an all-time great. He he's not underrated. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but yet and still he is. And I'm going to tell you why he is. And first of all, God bless his soul. He's passed away, and the name is Jim Marshall. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
Jim, the captain. I love
Yeah.
him. He passed away recently. I bless his heart, God bless his soul. I bless his family and all those kind of things. But he's never been underrated in Minnesota. I'm gonna say it that way, and never
Okay.
been underrated as far as maybe in the league itself. Amongst the other NFL players. But I'm gonna tell you this: if anybody deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, he does. He should have been in. So from that standpoint, I'm going to say he's underrated. Because and out of the Purple People Eaters, which he was one of those guys, and being the captain, and Jim was just a great man. I mean, not only was he a great player, he was a great man. He was a great captain. I mean, and I can tell you a whole bunch of stories about that and how how him and I got along and how he embraced me. But the
Yeah.
show ain't long enough. But I'm gonna tell you, so so with that being said, I tell you, so he would be the first one to come to mind for that particular reason only, which is the Hall of Fame. As far as football itself, no, but the Hall of Fame, he should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. And the next person I'm probably gonna say, and this name, I'm gonna use this name because I feel like he was underrated. The guy, and everybody gonna know him. Everybody know him as number 23, Ted Brown, running back.
Okay.
Okay, now Teddy Brown, we called him Honey Dip, and we called him Honey Dip because he was the only he get inside the 2-yard line. I know he's scoring because he can dip in there and he can find
Yeah.
crevices, and that was his thing. And he was always just a great football player, great running back, but I don't think he ever got his due. He never got the credit that he deserved, and I think that was because we didn't go as far as we were supposed to go sometimes, or we didn't reach our potential as a team. If we had reached our potential as a team, he would have got all the accolades that he deserved. But he would be the one that comes to mind that I thought, man, this cat he just can go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be my pick.
Hey man, those are some good ones. Hey JT, let's fast forward a little bit
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
2025 Minnesota Vikings.
absolutely.
When you look at the work that's been done with this organization, as a layman and just a fan, like I'm really pleased with where they are. What stands out to you about the 2025 Minnesota Vikings?
Well, what stands out to me, man, they are so explosive. You know what I mean? And I love that about them. I love, well, coming from Miami, so we put everything's in the air, everything's fast, everything's quick, everything's in a hurry. And in Miami, I come from that area where skill is important. So these guys are very skilled. Man,
Uh-huh.
they can score points. I mean, we talking about in a hurry. You know what I mean? And JJ is just this cat. He's just different,
Yeah.
which is impressive for to be as good as he is, and everybody in the gym or everybody in the stadium know he's getting the ball. Hell, I know he's getting the ball, and I ain't even out there, and you still can't stop. That's special.
Yep.
Everybody, that's just so special. And don't get me, his supporting cast is just great. You know, from the tight ends to the receivers. The offensive line is good. I mean, this thing is set up on offense to just be mind-boggling. And I think this season is gonna be mind-blowing because people think, and just to go a little further into to our new quarterback, I like him. I am so ready to see him play because I do think he is built to be a professional quarterback, to be in a pro system and be a pro quarterback. So I think they got all the pieces. I was a little bit worried in the back end of the defense. You know what I mean? I was a little bit worried about that, but they seem to have solidified that a little bit because I think that front seven is going to be beastly. I
Yeah.
think
Hey JT, you can come out of retirement anytime you want, man. You can come out of
I love
retirement,
you,
put back
coach.
on the purple.
I love you, but there's this thing called fear. You know, this thing called fear. I'm good right where I'm at. I like talking about him. I like talking with you and Pat about him. But, talking about running out there hitting somebody, that is not going to happen.
Yeah,
You are listening to
yeah. You
Unconventional
you
Playbook.
probably ain't
Please
got
hit
that
that like and
4.2,
subscribe
4.3
button.
speed no more.
Well, I don't think I ever had that 4.2, 4.3, but I did have that 4.4. Back in them days, that was quick, These days, man, them cats running 4.28s. I watched the combine. I went, oh my God. You got big dudes running as fast as I was running. It's impressive, man. It's scary, you know. But that's what happens with,
Yeah,
things get bigger and better, they say.
yeah,
This
it's
is
scary out there.
Unconventional Playbook.
JT,
Please hit that like and subscribe button. Patrick, go ahead.
What you say,
I'm a
Pat?
I'm a allude on what you were just saying about explosiveness, right?
Right.
You talk about the offensive weapons of explosiveness, but if you look up front, right at that front seven, which you just mentioned, right?
Oh, yeah.
JG, Gink, Jonathan Allison, Harrison Phillips, all those guys up front. I believe you could use the same thing when you're talking about up front and in explosiveness as well, right? It's not just offense, but I feel the
Yeah,
explosiveness on the defense as well.
Yeah, but see, that's because I don't say explosive on defense. I said they're beastly. Them boys are beast up there.
Yes, sir.
I want you to be a beast. I want you can be if you're a beast, I love it. And I use that term because I understand the dynamics of that game. I need you to wreak havoc. I want you to create so many issues up front that my job back there becomes easy. I don't want you to see, I want that quarterback to get that ball out of his hands in 3 seconds or less. Anything over 3 seconds, I'm fighting, I'm hanging on for dear life back there. And that's a lot of times people don't realize that. When you get a lot of time, that's why, and I'm gonna use Patrick Mahomes for an example. He creates time, and that's why them guys are covered at the beginning. But Patrick can create time. You can't pass that 3 seconds. It's hard to stay with a man past 3 seconds. If you beat them boys up there, and they are so good. And I agree, they are quick, fast, in a hurry. But along with that, I want them to be a beast up there. I want them to supply all the heat
Yeah.
and pressure. Because if I see the quarterback turning his back, I know I'm in good shape.
Talking about a beast, JT, give me your insight on a young man that I think really highly of, the young man by the name of Dallas Turner. Didn't get a whole lot of run last year, but he definitely showed flashes of being everything that we drafted him to be. Now he's going to have a bigger role this year. They're probably going to have him, Bernard Van Ginkel on the field at the same time a lot. Give me your impressions of Dallas Turner and what you've seen from this young man.
Man, let me tell you something. And I'm gonna share something with you that he doesn't even know. You know what I mean? And when I share this with you, and people don't know this, but he's a cousin of mine.
Okay.
But he doesn't know this. His
All right.
grandmother, Diane Turner, that's his grandmother, and his father, Delon, and all them, they're on my side, they're on my father's side of the family. And
Okay.
I have not even met this young man, and I have not had the opportunity to meet him. And when I say this, it's because he needs to get acclimated. He needed to get in here and do his thing without trying to run across somebody saying he his cousin.
Right.
But with that being said, I'm gonna go and say this. He is, because I'm mad at him, number one. I gotta go back a little further.
Okay.
I got mad at his dad, Don. I'm mad at him too, because Miami recruited him. You know it was about Miami. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Out of Portland, yeah, we did. We recruited him. Yeah, we did. And so I'm still a little mad at him, but but it worked out well for him. And he went to Alabama, which was a great decision on his part because he got to play right away. Some players got hurt. He got to play right away, and he did his thing. He was a phenomenal athlete. I mean, he is just a special talent. But I tell you, coming into the pros, he is going to have his career, sky's the limit. I'm gonna say it that way. His skill set is so unique. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can run, he's smart, he's athletic, his agility's off the chart. He does so many things well that he can't do anything but be successful. The only thing that can slow him down would be injuries. And we don't wish that upon anybody. So with you picking that out, this young man, I mean, the sky's the limit. I'm going to go on a limb and say he's probably going, if he plays and not be hurt, he'll be in the Pro Bowl this year. That's how great of a talent he is. He
Wow.
is that special of a kid. And I don't think there's anything he cannot do. You know what I mean? Even if he's in the 2-point stand, he's got his hand in the dirt. He's explosive. It's amazing. This kid is he's amazing. He surely is.
Yeah, I look in, at him and see some of the same attributes you see. I
Mhm.
think he's gonna KOC has already said that he's gonna take a big leap forward this year compared to the run that he got last year, man. So I'm really looking forward to this revamped front seven that Brian Flores has put together, man. I'm really excited to see what they do with him.
But and talk about Flores, this dude, he's so good, man. You know, this dude's so good. And and I see it, and I look at the game differently. He keep people off balance. Some people come out there in a 4-3, 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and I tell you, that's just, you get a steady dose of that. That becomes who they are. Yeah, man, not him. He come out in a 4-3. He come out in the 3-4. Next time it may come out next series, he's in a 5-2. I'm looking at him like, okay, so he's just masterful with how he utilizes his players in the positions and the sets that he put them in, and when I say that, you can't. He can do that because he's so creative with football. Number one, and he's a genius. Number two, but number three, and probably should be number one, the kind of players that he's gotten on defense, they're so versatile. They're able to do so many different things from so many different positions until 4-3s looks like 3-4s, and 4-3 may look like a 5-2. And it's the same players out there, but they're coming from different places, and it looks differently. It's just mind-boggling what he's doing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, that defense, as Pat said, and as you alluded to, man, I tell you, the only worry I had was on the back end, and I feel better.
Before Pat comes in with his next question, JT,
Yeah,
I got to ask you this. Would you want to be coached by a guy? What would being coached by a guy like Brian Flores, man, would have done for John Turner's career at cornerback?
But here's the neat thing about Flores. I think he understands what people do best, and he puts you in the position to do what you do best. I think that's what he does. I think with that being said, he would have made me a better player simply by the fact of letting me do and the things that I do best. And if he thought I was a better cover guy, he would put me in a position where I'm always covering and maybe not having to, force the run, or whatever the case may be. Or he'll put me in a position where I'm in a zone, I'm playing a deep third or a deep half, and not and wouldn't put me in man to man. But he recognizes, in my opinion, he seems to put his team together, and then he realizes what they do well, and he keep them in what they do well. And that's and for me to say this, that's hard to do. Because you got such a mixture of talent. Like that front seven. Now on that back end, I may not need to go man to man.
Right.
'Cause that front seven coming, I may not need to go man to man. I may have you all playing zones and not having to do that. But then again, I can put you in man to man. I do a man on one side, a zone on the other. And there's so many different things that he does. And I think what he does, and I can't explain it any other way than he let them cats be them cats.
Yeah.
He got them in positions where they can just, and coach, you know how the basketball, if you got a shooter, you let him shoot.
You'd let him
You
shoot. Yeah.
know? If I got a guy that can blitz, guess what I'm gonna let him do? I'm gonna let him blitz. If I got a guy that can cover, I'm gonna put him on my best receiver, and you follow him all over the place. If I got a hitter, I'm gonna put him in a position where he's always going to be to that side where they run the ball, because I want him filling them gaps. And I think that's what he does really, really well. You
Okay.
know what I mean? He's got a
Yep.
good eye and a good handle on his personnel. But for as me, I think he would have made me a better player. But I'm going to say it this way. Back in the old days, we couldn't be one dimensional. In the old days, you couldn't just be a cover corner. That's a new term. In the
Okay.
old days back then, we couldn't just be a cover corner. You had to be able to do it all. When Bud played, or when we played for Bud, I had to be using myself as an example of Bobby Bryan or Paul Krause. Those are the guys I played with. Whenever you had to come up and force the run, you had to cover the receivers. So you had to do every phase of the game, and you had to do it well enough to be there. And I think nowadays, and again, I'm taking nothing from these guys because these guys are special talents. They have just created now where because you got 3 receivers on the field all the time. In some cases, you got 4. So they need cover guys. And so that's when they created the word or the term cover corners.
Okay. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Pat, what do you got?
No, I love getting this perspective from you and everybody at UP Nation, right? We talk so much about football, but getting your
Yeah.
perspective on things. Back when you was coming up playing, and it was more physical in the sense of the NFC North. It was called the Black and Blue division, right? That's what it was then. It was exciting. Now it's more offensive driven, but now the Black and Blue is back in the sense of we're one of the best divisions in football. What is your thoughts about the new NFC North and how these teams have done a great job of building, within organizations?
But and I'm glad you asked that question because I tell you what, that NFC North is gonna be a beast. It's gonna be just it's gonna be a tough. It's gonna be a dog fight all the way through to the end of the season. Because you got Detroit lead. Detroit's probably at the top of the pack. And then you got Green Bay just falling in there. Then you got Minnesota that's gonna be in there. Then you got Chicago. And the only reason I paired Minnesota was third because my world Minnesota's number 1. But I tell you what, man, that's it's gonna be tough. But I think that the way the league is set up now and the way the conference is set up, it's all high flying, a lot of scoring. It's fan friendly. It's where people come out and they look for you to score 21, 24, 30 points a game. And they have the talent on offense to do that. Now, I also believe on defense, we have the personnel and to go out and be physical and make things happen, make big plays, get some interceptions here and there. So I think all those things work really well, in behalf of the NFC North. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's just that way. It's just Green Bay, man, they're tough. So I think all those games, and when I say that this is not a knock on the defense by any chance, by any stretch of the imagination, on any of the defenses in the North. I'm gonna say that because the offenses in the North are so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. It 20, 21 points going to the gift. You know, 3 touchdowns, that's a gift. Believe that. So the winner are going to be going up. And it sounds crazy because all of the Green Bay defense is good. The Vikings defense, we know Detroit's defense is good. The Detroit defense is when they had almost 20 people, you know, all those guys are back. So it's gonna be a barn. It's gonna take 24 points to win every one of those games.
Okay. Okay. Well, JT, it's getting dark on there on you, man. So listen, I really appreciate your time and coming
Yeah.
on Unconventional Playbook. We're definitely gonna have you back as the season
Yeah.
progresses. One thing I wanna ask you before
Uh-huh.
you go. We got this 3-year window. Patrick and I talk about the Minnesota Vikings and this 3-year window all the time. Do you see Super Bowl in this 3-year window?
Well, and I think the 3-year window is a good window, but I think they're gonna have to. They're probably 3 is good, but I would like to say I'd like to say 2-ish. And only reason I say that because it's hard to keep the players together in this new NFL. The money is so big. It's hard to keep these guys together for a long period. So I'm gonna say this. I feel like they're gonna feel like next year if they he's good. I feel like not because I want what my quarterback gonna do it. I think he's gonna be great. The thing about him, the best thing about him is the best thing about him, he already played throwing the ball. 5 steps, he's throwing the ball. He's already making it. So,
All right. All right. Well, hey, listen, I think the Minnesota Vikings are building something special here. I mean, I can just smell it, man. I look at them being able to retain their coaches, the personnel that they're bringing in, what Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has done with the books in terms of salary cap flexibility. We got a franchise quarterback on a rookie scale contract. Now we can fill out that team around him. Man, everything seems to be going really well for the Minnesota Vikings, man. And so I'm really ecstatic about where the organization is.
oh, I'm in a great spot. They're in a great position. They got great players, right place to be a very special football team. And I think this year we're gonna surprise people. We're gonna be. I mean, I got us win. You'd be surprised. I got us winning 10 games, and I know
Okay.
that. I just feel like we're gonna win 10. We gonna get 10. I don't know who the 10 gonna be, but we gonna get we gonna get us 10. And next year, I think we gonna destroy people next year. But we gonna get 10. But I think it's gonna be hard for us to get to the Super Bowl. But I think we're gonna get 10, go to the playoffs. If we can get 10 and get to the playoffs, I'm a happy man. If we win a playoff game, I'm ecstatic. Absolutely.
Hey, man. Well, again, thanks for coming on the show, JT. We're definitely going to have you back, man. This is John Turner, one of the Minnesota Viking greats. When you look at all those great Minnesota Vikings defenses, man, back in the 70s and the 80s, JT was a big part of that. So we are very fortunate to have him on the show. Pat, any last words for JT, man, before we get out of here? Again, from Pat and myself, JT, thanks for coming on, man. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Continue to help us stay in the algorithm and pump out this great content. JT, what do you got, man? All right, this has been Unconventional Playbook. We will make sure to see ya when we see ya. Skol!